sweet. Thank you.
Good morning, Lamars. How are you? You're very official speaking behind this. I always wondered how it felt to speak. Okay. Alrighty. I'll speak off to the side. So I'm from Sioux City. My name is Kevin Munoz. I'm an organizer with the campaign. Born and raised in Sioux City, very familiar with Lamars. It was the place to drive up on a Saturday afternoon to get some ice cream. And the summer after I finished Iowa State University, I worked construction actually here in Lamars, building a freezer. I forgot whereabouts, but it was like where that old coming into town, where there's that used to be a Pizza Hut. I don't know. I worked there before Portugal, so I spent a lot of time in Lamars before I was out of the country for a long time, and I'm really happy to be back, especially to see that the ice cream is still coming out. But I'm here to ask everybody to make sure everyone did get a card. We will be filling these out, if you can please turn them in before you leave. And also, anyone who's interested in volunteering. So, again, my story from Sioux City, left the country, and came back for this reason. I know that some of you will be able to maybe leave your town to help get some doors knocked, and maybe you don't even have to leave your town, you can make some phone calls. So if you really, really want to get involved, I really encourage you to, and thank you very much. And now, actually, I have the bizarre honor, because it's crazy that I get to introduce someone very special. You all know her, I'm sure. Evelyn Yang, everybody.
Thank you so much for coming out here today. You might have heard, but we have 2 little boys who keep me pretty busy at home, so I don't get to come out on the trail as often as I like, but I do love to be here whenever I can. And mostly it's because I know that I'm pretty useful to Andrew. After 15 years of being together, I'd like to think that I'm his best character witness. So I can confirm that Andrew, yes, is pretty awesome. He is a wonderful husband, father, and friend. He's a man of the highest integrity. He doesn't lie. He's guided by moral principles and common sense. And he has exceptional judgment when it comes to filtering out the things that really matter. And most importantly, when I met him, he never wanted to be president or even be in politics. He is here for something much, much greater than himself. He's the only one talking about the biggest problems we face today in a meaningful way and proposing meaningful solutions that will actually make a difference in your lives and your communities. Now please join me in welcoming my husband, the next President of the United States, Andrew Yang.
Hello everyone, thank you for being here. I'm told they have delicious ice cream here. Is this correct? Yeah. We're ordering some. That's like my reward after this. Thank you so much for coming out today. It's a thrill and privilege to campaign here in Iowa because you all are some of the most powerful, influential people in our country today. I know it does not feel like it, just living your lives, decide to check out the presidential candidate who comes through. But I did the math. Do you know how many Californians each of you is with? 1,000 Californians each. That's right. So look around this room. How many people are here? I'm going to give a Trumpian estimate. There are 600 people here. It's the biggest room anyone's ever seen. I think there are about 30 people here, but 30 Iowans is one football stadium full of Californians. That's the power you have to do something the rest of our fellow Americans only dream about, which is actually change the course of history, turn this country in a different direction. And that is why I'm running for president. Now, Evelyn can vouch for the fact that I'm not someone who intended to run for president. Growing up, my parents were not like, you're gonna be president someday. They were more like, you're terrible, clean your room. And Evelyn would have run the other direction if she thought I was ever gonna run for president. So how am I here today with you running for president? I spent the last 7 years running a nonprofit that I'd started that helped create thousands of jobs in the Midwest and the South. And during that time, I saw manufacturing towns in Missouri, Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania dry up, and those towns essentially go dark. After the factory closes, the shopping district closes, people leave, and then that town never recovers. The same thing has happened here in Iowa. 40,000 manufacturing jobs have gotten eliminated, and those towns have never recovered. What happened to those jobs is actually now shifting to other parts of your economy. How many of you noticed stores closing where you live here in Iowa? And why are those stores closing? Amazon, that's right. Amazon's soaking up $20 billion in business every year like a giant spaceship. How much are they paying in taxes? 0. So that's the math that you all have to change on February 3rd. You have to say, how is it possible that $1 trillion tech company is paying less in taxes than everyone here today and everyone in your town? That does not seem right, am I right?
Yeah.
And there's only one way to change it. It's for us to get a hold of our government and make it work for us again, and not the big companies that have been running the place for far too long. Washington, D.C. today is the richest city in our country. Think about that for a second. What do they produce?
Hot air.
Hot air.
We don't know. But business is awfully good. So we have to take some of the value that's getting sucked out of your town and then bring it back. Bring it back in the form of a dividend that I just want to give straight to you and your families. Because there's nothing our government can do that would actually empower you to improve your lives and the lives of those you love, more than just putting the resources directly in your hands. You can make those decisions better than any government administrator ever could. How many of you are here in part because you saw these TV ads? No? No TV ads? Oh my gosh, we spent so much money on those ads. We miss this town? I'm gonna have to fire someone. So you know that I have this plan to give everyone in the country $1,000 a month. You might have picked that up, not from a TV ad, but we did have that in the ads. And I know this seems like a very dramatic, far out plan initially. You think, wow, that seems too good to be true. But this idea has been with us since the founding of our country. Thomas Paine was for it, Martin Luther King was for it, Milton Friedman was for it. Today, people like Elon Musk are for it. And you know why people are for it now is that they realize that technology is getting stronger, faster, smarter in a way that we are not. We're just human beings. We're lucky to stay about the same, you know what I mean? Unless you're young like our sons, we actually are getting smarter. The rest of us are like just hoping not to get dumber. But the technology is definitely getting smarter very, very fast. And it's shifting here in Iowa. It started on the farms, consolidated and mechanized a lot of the agricultural jobs. Then it shifted to your factories, wiping out 40,000 manufacturing jobs. Now it's closing 30% of your stores and malls. You have to change something before it hits your highways in the form of robot trucks. You can imagine what happens to Iowa's economy when truck drivers don't actually drive trucks and then the trucks don't have to stop? This is why Trump won this state by almost 10 points. This is a traditionally purple state, swing state down the middle. But things have changed for the worse in many communities here in Iowa. And the job of the Democratic Party is to reverse that. Well, the job of the next president is to reverse that. I hope it's the Democratic Party. That we have to make it so that all of the value that's leaving is coming back into your hands, and then we're able to build a future you're excited about for your kids. Raise your hand if you're a parent like me and Evelyn. If you're a parent, you've been concerned that we're leaving a future that is less bright, less prosperous, less secure than the lives that you've led as their parents. And the reason you feel that way is because that is what's happening. If you were born in the 1940s, United States of America, there's a 93% chance you're going to do better than your parents. That's the American dream. That's what brought my family here. But if you're born in the 1990s, you're down to a 50-50 shot and it's declining fast. So that's why the parents feel the way we do. And that's why young people, I see a lot of young people here, it's why you feel the way you do too. You're like, wow, were things always this hard? Was school always this expensive? Were the paths always so unclear? And the answer is no, it actually used to be better. This economy actually used to work better for people right here in Iowa, and that's what we have to change. That's why I'm running, to rewrite the rules of the 21st century economy so they work for you and your families. I'm not running for president because I dreamt about being president of the United States. I'm running because I'm a parent who sees what's coming down the pike, and our kids deserve better. But there is no way to give them better unless we get together on February 3rd and let the rest of the country know that this economy has to work for us. It's not that we all work for the economy. I've been giving $1,000 a month, not me, a combination of me, the campaign. So thank you, Evelyn. Where'd Evelyn go? Because Evelyn signed off on this. So we've been giving $1,000 a month to various families around the country, including Kyle Christensen in Iowa Falls, here in Iowa. Kyle was taking care of his ailing mom who had cancer, and they were struggling. And you put $1,000 a month in their hands, it doesn't solve all the problems, but it's been this huge weight relief. And you can see it in their faces, in their lives. $1,000 a month is a game changer for many, many Americans. And we can 100% afford it. You have $1 trillion tech company like Amazon paying $0. And 12 years ago, you may not even have noticed what they did here, but we bailed out the Wall Street banks for $4 trillion. You remember voting for that? No. I think we put that to a vote. If they put it to a vote, hey, do you want to bail out the banks for $4 trillion or do you want to keep Americans in their homes? Which would we have chosen? Homes, easy, right? It's like an easy move. But they chose the banks. That's where we are again, Iowa. This time we're going to choose ourselves. This time we're going to choose our people. We have to get a hold of Washington and let them know that this is still our country, that we all have intrinsic value as Americans, as citizens, and as shareholders of the richest country in the history of the world.
Yeah.
Woo! Essentially, we have to treat ourselves the way our government has been treating the banks, the pharma companies, the tech companies, and the people that have been laughing all the way to the bank at our expense. This is why Trump is our president today. He got some of the problems 100% right. You have record high corporate profits in this country right now. You know what else are record highs in the United States of America?
Suicides.
Suicides, stress, anxiety, depression, mental illness, student loan debt. Record, no, these are all just true facts. I'm the math guy, it says it right here. I just looked at the numbers and was like, wow, these numbers are horrifying. It's gotten so bad that our life expectancy has declined for the last 3 years in a row. You know the last time that happened in the United States of America? Great Depression's a great guess. It's the Spanish flu of 1918, a global pandemic that killed millions. You have to go back 100 years to find a time like this in American history where our life expectancy declined 3 years in a row. It's actually highly unusual for life expectancy to decline in a country like ours. It ordinarily just goes up, right? Richer, stronger, healthier. But in the US, it's gone down and then down and then down again because suicides and drug overdoses have both spiked to record highs. You know what else are at record lows in the United States right now? Starting a business for a young person, getting married, having kids. Anything you associate with having a thriving society and way of life is now at record lows. But the corporate profits keep going up and up. That's what we have to change. I know how messed up these numbers are in part because of Evelyn and my family. Evelyn's at home every day with our 2 boys, one of whom is autistic. How much is her work valued at in our current economic measures? Evelyn gets a 0. So does every stay-at-home parent in our country. How about someone like Kyle taking care of their mom who's recovering from cancer? That's a 0 too. How about activists and volunteers trying to do something positive? That gets a 0. How about 98% of artists, unfortunately? For some reason I thought these people looked like aspiring artists. It says 0 there. I'm glad I read that. You know one thing we don't think about, but it's very important? How about local journalism? We have put almost 2,000 local newspapers out of business over the last number of months because all of their revenue floated up to the internet. And you can't run a paper on that. You know what doesn't function as well if you don't have local news?
Democracy.
Democracy, that's right. Because how can you vote on what's going on in your town if literally no one's even covering what's going on in your town? These are the things we're supposed to value the most in our lives. Our children, our families, our communities, our democracy, and they're getting zeroed out one by one by one. This is what we must change. This is why I'm running. We have to make this economy work for us. We have to say the machines work for us and that we don't work for the machines. This is a case that the rest of the country is so eager to take up. And that's how someone who no one ever heard of a year ago, raised $16.5 million last quarter in increments of only $35 each. So my fans are almost as cheap as Bernie's. I'm now 4th in the polls and rising to be the Democratic nominee. And the reason why this is the case, why I'm doing so well, is that I'm laser focused on the problems in your communities, in your town, that got Trump elected, and that's what I want to make better. You should not have a standard for the next president of the United States, like, oh, I like that person, like I'm proud to send them to DC. The standard you have for the next president should be, will they actually make your way of life in your town better every single day? That's the standard I want you to hold me to as your president. If I can't do that, I should not be your president. Donald Trump's our president today because he had a very simple, powerful message for the country. He said he was going to make America great again. What did Hillary Clinton say in response? America's already great. You remember that? It's been a long 3 years, I know. But it's now coming to an end. That message, that response of Hillary did not go over well with a lot of people because the problems are real. We have to acknowledge their depth and severity and reality, but then we need solutions that will actually move our communities and our country forward. What were Donald Trump's solutions? Build a wall, turn the clock back, bring the old jobs back. We know, you know, we have to do the opposite of these things. We have to turn the clock forward. We have to accelerate our economy and society to rise to the real challenges of the 21st century, like climate change. We have to evolve in the way we see ourselves and our work and our value. I'm the ideal candidate for this job because the opposite of Donald Trump is an Asian man who likes math. Thank you all very much. You may not know this, but math is an acronym, and what does it stand for?
Make America think harder.
Make America think harder. That's right. That's your job on February 3rd. It's your job to move this country we love so much. Not left, not right, but forward. And I know that's just where you will take us. Thank you all. I think we got time for a question or two. Someone throw someone a mic. Or I'll do it. No, I'm kidding. I'm not going to take that chance.
So what's your plan for, 8 years from now as you're leaving office when $1,000 isn't what it is today? How do you keep that up with inflation and what $1,000 will get you?
I love this. So the $1,000 is pegged to inflation, which right now, let's call it, is going to be like 2% a year. So it would be 1,000 year one, then 1,020 year two, then 1,042 year three, etc. And the great thing about this money, this trickle-up economy, when this money's in your hands, where will it go?
Grocery store.
How much of it will stay right here in Iowa?
Most.
Most all of it. Not all of it, you might get your own Netflix password. But most of it will go to car repairs you've been putting off, and daycare expenses, and little sign-ups, and art supplies, and local nonprofits, and religious organizations. This is what we've been waiting for to rebalance, frankly, rural economies and urban economies, because we're in the midst of the most extreme winner-take-all economy in our history. How the heck do you balance that out? When I was in Des Moines talking to state legislators, the people who represented rural areas said, there is nothing that anyone is talking about that would actually work for these communities except what you're talking about, Andrew. And a poll just came out today that said that a majority of Iowans now support this plan of everyone getting $1,000 a month. So we can make this real very, very quickly. If we win Iowa, first imagine those headlines, it'll be very fun. But we'll win New Hampshire, I'll be your president, and then I'll come back and deliver it. But the $1,000 has to be pegged to your cost of living so that it actually maintains its buying power over time. Thank you for running the mic.
Is it on? Hello. Hi. I wanted to learn more about the $1,000. Does that have to go through Congress to get passed? What's the legislative process for that?
Well, I love this question again. All right, so check it out. I went to Iowa February 3rd. Thank you again. We went to New Hampshire. The rest of the country is like, oh my gosh, we can do this for ourselves? This is amazing. The internet already has me as a heavy favorite against Donald Trump because I'm better at the internet than he is. 18% of college Republicans say they'd choose me over Trump. And he has not tweeted about me at all because he knows. Like, he's trying to hope I don't get through this process. So if I'm the nominee, we beat Trump. His most potent attacks are what? You're a corrupt DC politician. None of that stuff works on me. Like, I can just be like, whatever. Let's get out of the way. Let's give the people some money. So, I get to DC. I'm your president a year from now. Democrats will be so pumped to have won, and they'll know I ran on this dividend, so let's pass the dividend. But here's the magic. Republicans and conservatives from places like Iowa are going to look at this and say, wait a minute, am I against this dividend? This is a huge win for rural communities, for red states on the interior. And the one state that has passed a dividend and had it for almost 40 years is Alaska, which is a deep red conservative state and was passed by a Republican governor. Republicans and conservatives do not hate buying power in Americans' hands. What do they hate? A giant bureaucracy making everyone's decisions for them. So all we need is 20% of the Republicans to get on board with the dividend, and then we pass it. And then you all have this very unfamiliar feeling, which is the government did something you actually love. So this is very achievable, but we need to win Iowa. We need your help on February 3rd to caucus for this campaign. I gotta tell you, we have the potential to shock the world and move this country forward very, very quickly, but it's not going to happen without you all caucusing for us.
So my question is, money in politics is it's the reason nothing gets done.
Yeah.
And so with that in mind, would you be in favor of an amendment that limits political campaign contributions to simply registered voters? Or what is your idea? Because I think you're the guy that comes up with ideas that are
Thanks,
very
man. Yeah, I
unique.
appreciate it. You have very high expectations for me, and I will deliver. All right. Money in politics is killing us. That's why the companies just run everything. So I've got a few big ideas and plans for this. First, I'm for term limits for members of Congress. Because it messes with their incentives. If they actually were there and said, hey, I just have to do the people's work and then come home, then they might actually vote differently. Then it's like, hey, let me stay here as long as possible. You know what I mean? So this is how we'll actually pass it as your president. I'll be your president a year from now. I will go to Congress and say, hey, we need 12-year term limits for all members of Congress. But current lawmakers are exempt. Do you think they'll pass that? Oh, they'll pass that because they're exempt. They'll be like, we do this for the people. And then they're all grandfathered in. They're walking around like, oh, like I could stay here forever. But eventually they'll lose, age out, and then we'll have a Congress that actually works. Then, to counteract the lobbyist cash, you want to try and overturn Citizens United and get the dark money out, but it's very, very hard. So in addition to that, what we have to do is pass democracy dollars where every voter gets $100 that you can use to finance candidates and campaigns. Right now, 5% of Americans donate to political campaigns. What would that percentage be if everyone had $100 free that you could do whatever you wanted with every year?
Half.
Maybe 50%. Americans are pretty lazy, you know? It's real. People are like, it's still, I don't know, it's still too hard, whatever. So, but at 50%, we wash out the lobbyist cash in our government by a factor of 4 to 1. So if you're a legislator, you get 10,000 people behind you, that's $1 million. And then when the company's like, I've got $70,000 for it, you're like, I don't want to take your money because they're going to be mad and I'm getting $1 million from them. And so you end up making legislators actually responsive to what we think rather than what the companies think. So that's another very, very big move. The other thing we have to do is we have to get people in Washington that can't go back to work for industry after their time in Washington is done. Because there's a revolving door right now. If you become a regulator, there's a big company being like, hey, go easy on us, and I will pay you 6 to 10 times more than you're getting paid right now in 2 years when you leave your post. So what's human nature for that person? Go easy on the company. Heck, most of the regulators used to work at the company. This is why things are so messed up in DC. So what I'm proposing is that if you run one of these agencies, it's a one-way trip. We will pay you more, but you are not allowed to work for industry for at least 10 years after you leave. And to set that example, to change the culture, as your president, I would pledge never to take any speaking fees for personal gain for the rest of my life. Because it's impossible to stop the corruption of the revolving door. And frankly, the president's like, I'll do it. And then everyone's like, well, he's doing it, so I guess we all do it. So if you want to change that, you have to start at the top and just say, look, I work for the American people. After 8 years, no one will ever hear from me again. I hope that's, yeah. Some of you are like, I don't know. But yeah, like I just want to do the people's work, and I'm not going to try and profiteer off my office. Every regulator should have the exact same attitude. Give them a little bit more, but then say this is a one-way trip. Thank you, man. But yeah, it's a huge problem. Money in politics is killing us. Right now, if you have money on one side and people on the other side, who's winning in America? It's all the money. So this is what we have to change. We have to rewrite the economy so it actually revolves around you and your families. Instead of pretending corporate profits are the end-all be-all, we should be measuring our economic progress by your health and life expectancy, by your kids' success rates, by your mental health and freedom from substance abuse, by your clean air and clean water. As your president, I would actually update our economic measurements to these things, and then I would report them to you every year at the State of the Union so you'd see how we're doing. I'll be the first president to use a PowerPoint deck at the State of the Union. Because you can't solve problems if you don't even know what they are. And right now, what's good for the companies, they pretend it's good for us, but it's not. So now we're going to start saying, what's good for us is good for us. And the companies can get on board.
We have time for one last question.
I can just give you the mic. Oh, sorry. Oh, no. Sorry, go ahead. You first.
Okay. How will our freedom dividend, will it affect Social Security at all for us younger people?
Oh, geez, for younger people, I was thinking you're thinking of your parents. For you, you're not going to get Social Security for a long time. Are you kidding me? How old are you? Sorry. The freedom dividend is on top of Social Security. It's the biggest expansion of retirement benefits that has been proposed in generations. And I know this is necessary because I talk to older Americans who cannot retire on Social Security. They don't have adequate savings. And that retirement crisis is actually going to ramp up dramatically over time because young people, frankly, have saved virtually nothing for retirement. So don't worry, that's totally normal. So you should know that the plan is for freedom dividend to stack on top of Social Security. So if you're paying Social Security taxes right now, which I guess you are because you're working, you see it in your line, you'll get that back too. Don't worry about it. This is the big move that we have to make. It seems dramatic, but in the context of this historic technological and economic transformation we're in the midst of, and the winner-take-all economy, and the fact that things are about to speed up, we have to make a big move like this as quickly as possible. In my opinion, this is decades overdue. We should have done this a long time ago. That's why it seems dramatic now, but it was common sense 50 years ago. I just regret that it takes the futurist Asian man to drag it back into the light. But you're going to help hold it up to the rest of the country, and they are going to run with it. Thank you all so much. Did I earn my ice cream? I don't know. My team will tell me. Thank you all so much. All right, what's my next step?
Let's give one more hand for the next president of the United States. Yay, everybody.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Where'd Evelyn go? Oh, good.
What flavor is it?
The ice cream capital.
Thank you.
I'm sorry I'm not paying you guys. They put me in front of them.
That's okay.
Alright, stream, it's confirmed. Evelyn was having vanilla bean ice cream. I went over and asked since you guys made me. Which CNN reporter? Here, let me find out actually. I want to see, let me figure out what organization this is. Stream just fell because I forgot I had a battery plugged in. Oh no.
So that's how the connection through Bill.
Interview the old lady. By the way, thank you, Betty, for the $50 donation. Thank you, David, for the $5 donation. Thank you, Karen, for the $10 donation. Thank you, Penny, for the $8.88 donation. And Melinda Master at $8.88. Thank you, Evelyn, for another donation of $20.20. Thank you, Charles, for the $10 donation. And then, thanks. Ooh, I just accidentally deleted an email. That's not good. We had a donation at 1:37 in the morning from Chu Chun. From Chu at $500. Oh, shoot. I gotta get this interview.
I've been here since February 5th.
Matt. Oops. Nice to meet you. I gotta jump in and try to steal this interview.
I'm strictly a volunteer, so that means that it locks me out of my hostel.
Alright, for sure. After this, I gotta jump on this.
I've been like part of the Yang gang.
But I didn't get his signed. So I suspect once it's signed, he's going to be jealous.
I think that would be a very, very big uphill process.
What is your campaign going after in terms of other people?
I know how these things work.
What
I've just like
opportunities
put
do
out
you
of my
think
head
may be out there for people who may have a preference who's their candidate's not viable?
Sure. So we have all these graphics with like an Andrew Yang greater than, and then Phil as the candidate, and then a whole list of
That'd be pretty cool.
That would be pretty cool. You know, I mean, for us, we need to make our case to people here in Iowa that I have the clearest vision about the challenges and actually address them right. And I think we're having a different kind of conversation with people who might not have talked to me. So that's where our energy is. It's not so much making the case against other candidates because we respect and admire the other candidates.
If turnout is high, is that good for you on caucus night, do you think?
You know, we've been going back and forth about this, Jeff. Because on one hand, as you know, the Yang Gang is super dedicated, so if it's a terrible night weather-wise, then we think our people will fight through the elements and be there to caucus. But on the other hand, we're energizing a lot of young people and folks who haven't caucused before, so maybe good weather helps us. So we've been going back and forth on this ourselves. And, you know, I've been praying to the weather gods every night, saying please send the blizzard. But then I changed my mind. I was like, actually, please send good weather. So,
what do those gods say?
Well, the gods in my campaign are very friendly. When we ask for bad weather to screw with other candidates' campaigns, we always get it.
Nice. Okay. All right. Thank you. There's a county chair that wanted to use real quick.
Oh, sure thing. Thanks, Jeff.
Then we gotta go. Nice
to meet you. And this is Clayton Hodgson, the former county chair. So we'd like a quick pic with you. Get on this side.
Of course. Let me sign your book as well.
Guys, I gotta take a minute. I'd like to say hello.
We actually follow Andrew Yang and his campaign. Okay. Thank you. Wayne Martin. Wayne Martin. Yes. Main design after the vote. First of all,
I gotta take you guys. I'm so sorry. Thank you guys. Amy, we love you all. All right. A lot of us don't know. Thanks, guys. Right. We gotta go. We really gotta go. Sorry, guys. I gotta take it. I'm sorry. Right now.
Hey, Andrew, could I get a shout out for
What's your name real quick, man? We're seriously late.
Okay, I'll let you go. Next event.
Thank you,
Alright, so Samuel, we'll get you the next one. You wanted to talk to me real quick?
Yeah. Brother, it was nothing. I've got like a radio thing that's going to be going on here once I figure it out and do all the interviews and all that good stuff. And I was wanting to know if at any point when you're doing your live streams following Andrew around that I could. This is all I could get.
That's still pretty cool.
It didn't work. I'd be like, yeah, he tried to sign it, but it didn't work.
Well, I mean,
I'll tell my kids about that.
He did.
It's fine.
You can just fill it in. They're not going to know.
I'll get the hat the next day. I'll do next. I'll see him again. I'll get the hat.
I mean, you're not going anywhere, right?
It's okay.
Yeah, exactly. That's what, yeah.
So what'd you think? Hey, be in touch, all right? It was funny that you mentioned that because there was a gentleman I saw on Fox News. He was talking about securities.
I've taken a pledge to not say anything about who I like.
Okay, stream. We're gonna cut the feed.
But it was a good
You ready to cut it?